AEW's All Out was a fantastic show. It had excellent matches that built throughout the night, really solid production, and a few awesome surprises that kept me excited and interested for what may come next. It was the first wrestling pay-per-view I've bought in years, and I definitely feel like that money was well spent. I was even so buzzed after the show went off air last night that I wrote most of the script for this video at 12 in the morning. I've been an on-again, off-again fan of wrestling, and with AEW here, it's nice to be excited again about something I used to really love. And part of me can't help but wonder, how come we can't have something like an AEW in the FGC? Maybe it's because the offline fighting game community has been essentially nuked during COVID times, but for the last year and change, it's been honestly hard for me to play or watch fighting games. Rollback online or not, fighting games for me are not something I find enjoyment in alone or in a Discord call, and watching online-only tournaments doesn't excite me that much either. Fighting games are exciting for me because of the in-person clash of personalities in a bracket and the narratives and events that occur from that. The FGC has some of the more animated personalities in competitive gaming, and to me, both in playing fighting games and with making videos for this channel, the games themselves have always been a gateway of sorts into those personalities and a culture of people that love the same thing that I love. And I feel like with online events, and maybe even before, that we don't have as many platforms or events to showcase the uniqueness that the FGC has as much as we could. At this point, some of you are probably saying, well, what about EVO? And yes, EVO is the biggest fighting game event on the face of this earth. It's the spectacle that attracts fighting game players and fans from all over the world to compete and partake in some of the highest level of competition fighting games has to offer. The high-pressure situations involving so many competitors also produces some of the most memorable moments this community has ever seen, and love it or hate it, when EVO happens every year in Vegas, the world notices. That's important. The genre and the community need that spotlight to help them grow. But as an event, EVO has gotten kind of safe. As its popularity has risen over the years, its presentation has become very streamlined, sanding off the rougher edges and polishing itself to be a better show for a more mainstream audience. Gone are the 240p combo videos that premiered during game transitions, community exhibitions that highlighted rivalries in the scene, or even things like Red Rapper rapping intros for a top 8. There's assigned seating for spectators and spontaneous happenings like the box, that area where people would crowd up against the stage to watch and cheer on players during matches, just doesn't exist anymore. Hell, do you remember at EVO 2011 when Latif crowd surfed off the main stage? That would never happen at EVO today. The point I'm trying to make here is that a lot of the raw community feel that I love in the FGC isn't really felt at EVO or on its broadcasts anymore. And for me, it just feels sterile. And maybe even in some ways, like EVO has forgotten how to speak to the audience that made EVO in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I still love EVO. As a community, we need EVO as the major landmark event that rises all tides in the fighting game genre. But I also recognize that it has changed. It is no longer just the tournament where the majority of the community gathers. It's also a product. It's something that has to answer to advertisers and game developers and traverse an unthinkable amount of red tape because it is a business. It is people's livelihoods. And you can't have Johnny Donuts from Utah f***ing it up for everybody because they want to talk shit about their opponent on a live mic while the world watches. So while I recognize EVO's importance to the scene, I also want an alternative. I want a hub that brings people exciting matches with decent production value that an audience can invest in, but is also paired with content or other features that enable the community to express and experience that quirky and at times rough personality the FGC has, in the hopes that it will expand the boundaries of our scene in ways other things can't, just like AEW does with wrestling. AEW is the rough alternative to the polished WWE machine. As opposed to relying on overly scripted events and a writer's room, AEW allows its wrestlers to be themselves within a framework that allows them to succeed. And when I watch an AEW show, it feels like everyone is speaking the same language or is in on the act. AEW knows their audience is a bit more hip to the backstage workings of wrestling, and they lean into it. The promos are laced with self-awareness. Matches have logical storylines built around them with fan expectations in mind. And if there's rumors of a big return, like a CM Punk or a Bryan Danielson, why wait 3 months for it to happen when it can happen now? And I want to see more of that in fighting games. If EVO is the WWE in this example, the industry leader that is the recognizable brand to the mainstream audience, I want something for the hardcore fighting game enthusiast to be able to dig their teeth into, because both succeeding will help expand the audience beyond what either may think is capable, and if that happens, everyone wins. You can see some of that FGC authenticity in personal streams or one-off events, but it's all sort of scattered about and hard to find unless you go looking for it. A good example of something I'm talking about is Yipes' recent can opener exhibitions for Guilty Gear Strive. We got to see some killer matches between Marn, Hotashi, and Punk, and they were allowed to trash talk and clown on each other without worrying about sponsorships or advertisers or anything else over their heads. They just got to be themselves and express who they are both in and out of the game in front of a large audience. Or other times, like when Bronson got a live mic at NCR 2017 and commentated over his own top 8 run to hilarious effect.
Hit him with the RDC.
Bronson is spinning on the floor.
And it's not all about talking shit either. We have events like CEO that give players wrestling-like entrances for top 8s that they're allowed to design for themselves, or even the recent Look Alive show I helped Combo Break with that showcases a wide array of locals, not just in matches, but in content and merchandise. Beyond the Summits events are also fantastic examples of how you can blend an exciting tournament with relevant and entertaining video features. I want more of that authenticity and experimentation in the scene because I think it's long past due. We've relied on weekend after weekend of majors or regionals that may have slightly different themes, but all result in pools, semis, finals, what hotel room are we drinking in? And as much as I have loved that loop for the last decade, it also does get a bit stagnant. And for me, this period of time as we hopefully start to make our way out of the COVID era of fighting games is the perfect time to explore new ways to engage the fighting game audience. If we really want to grow things, we need to take risk and get weird and start to lean less on what we know works and explore the what ifs of what might work. I want to see the things that truly make fighting games and its community stand out from others and something that people can get excited about on a regular basis. And I don't know what the final product of all this looks like, whether it's an exhibition series or a new kind of tournament that we haven't seen before or some kind of variety show or vlog or maybe something I haven't even thought of yet. But whatever that EVO alternative is, I want it. And after seeing the reaction that AEW has been getting as of late, I think a lot of people in our community would like to see something like that too. Thanks for watching, and as always, you can let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're looking for something else to watch, why not check out our recent video on Jackie Chan in Fists of Fire. Thanks to my patrons for making videos like this happen, and if you'd like to support the channel even further, you can do so at patreon.com/holdbacktoblock. Until next time.